Hello and welcome to the Southern Tier of New York in Harpersville for the inaugural running of the Parts Unlimited Black Sky GNCC Round 10 of the AMSOIL GNCC Series. I'm Rodney Tomlin, and of course the inaugural running here in New York and the inaugural running of the High Voltage GNCC just before the summer break a couple of months ago, and you saw this one. What a whale of a race it was, starting out a little dry and dusty, near perfect conditions, I guess a lot of folks could say, especially in the woods. And then early on lap number one, the skies opened up, rain started falling, and the track did turn ultimately perfect as far as the moisture goes, but it didn't take long as the rain continued to fall and the skies darkened that the track got slicker and wetter. The one positive thing about it is it was a hard-packed surface, so we didn't see a lot of digging in, a lot of bikes getting stuck and things of that nature. So traversing the terrain was quite easy, but at the same time, it had its obstacles with all the water that was out there, so riders had to use their head and ride smart. And, of course, Walker Fowler getting out to the early lead in this one. He led it pretty much all day long. He did, though, have a couple of shadows in, of course, Cole Richardson, but late in the race, it's this guy right here, the number 3, the 6-time GNCC champion of Chris Borch, who's hot on the rear bumper of Walker Fowler as they approach the finish line region, and back in the number 3 spot is Cole Richardson. But all eyes turn to the front of the pack, especially when we head into the final few turns when these two riders come together. Chris Borch getting into Walker Fowler, pushing him off in the mud, and then, of course, a little hot into the next turn goes Chris Borch, and Walker Fowler returns the favor. A little love tap there. One turn left to go, and win number 52 in the history books for Walker Fowler as he takes the big one there at the inaugural running of the High Voltage GNCC. What a day there, no doubt about it, as Chris Borch took second, Cole Richardson third, Bryson Neal in fourth, and fifth place was Jared McClure.
Finish line, he got into me up there on top of the hill pretty good, and that next corner, I definitely was a little aggressive. I apologize to him. Last corner, I know he'd have done it to me. I know Adam would have done it to me. I know Cole would have done it to me. So I did it to Chris. We're going for the win, and at that point, I knew that there wasn't going to be a crash. It's so slippery. That was just a classic Supercross finish, if you will. We raced each other super clean all day, and then 3 corners from the finish, it got a little rowdy, but that's racing. Like I said, I'm not happy about it. I know he's not super thrilled about it, and I'm not happy that I did it myself. But, man, when it comes down to it after a day like that, you got to get aggressive. We're going for the win, championship points, so, we both went for it, and I came out on top.
Walker Fowler came out on top, but both riders had 2 months to think about that win or loss, depending on where you were. As we make our way back after the summer break here in September, you see the trees are beginning to turn. It's a beautiful fall day in the southern tier of New York, and Walker Fowler snagging the early lead in this one once again. And this could spell trouble and disaster, and I know that a lot of riders are wanting to latch on. The one that wants to latch on the most is right there, the number 5 of Cole Richardson. Richardson seems to be the one that is capable of keeping the shadow there on Fowler the most and keeping him honest, I think, through the bigger part of the day. So this could end up being a rather exciting race. We saw McClure there in third, Behan was fourth, McGill in fifth, Covert, Borch, Neal, Collier and Marty Christopherson. They're also outside the top 10, the 741 of Wesley Wolf as we head down to the XC2 Pro-Am class now. The All Balls Racing pole shot heading out there, and as they round that first turn and dive in at turn number 2, Drew Landers once again trying to put himself there in the early lead position. Last time he did that, he had himself pitched off the bike, but able to maintain a little bit stronger conditions this time. Picking the action back up now out in the woods. Not much of a change up front as we're still seeing Richardson following Fowler, McClure, Behan. There's McGill. There is, I believe, Greg Cover and Borch also making his way through as well. Bryson Neal back there in the number 8 position. He's not off to the strongest of starts. Christopherson and Collier and all the boys still back there. There's look like maybe Hunter Hart sneaking up into some action there. So a lot of changes going on already in this first lap of racing as they try to get things sorted out here. In late chase to this rider, the number 1 of Fowler. I begin to think Fowler's starting to stretch it out. Now there is a little bit of real estate, and this is what these guys don't want to see. Can the number 5 of Cole Richardson keep close in tow with Walker Fowler? Is Walker Fowler going to walk away with it? Stick around to find out. GNCC continues after this.
GNCC on the NBC Sports Network is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics. Specialized Turbo e-bikes. It's you, only faster. And by Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Get ready.
Welcome back to GNCC on NBC Sports. From Harpersville, New York to Black Sky, GNCC Walker Fowler still in the lead of this one as the number 5 of Cole Richardson in second. There is McClure still holding steadily in third. Devin Feehan strongly on board that 406 in the number 4 position. They're starting to open up a little bit of a gap now over the 521 of Adam McGill, as Walker Fowler a little further down the trail, still not able to put much distance between himself and second and third and fourth place positions. These guys are kind of nose to tail right now. It's only going to take one little mistake and an opportunity for Walker Fowler to break away, and that's what these guys do not want to lend the hand to. You know, looking rather dry out here in the woods. You see some dust kicking up out here. That's a good sign. We had some muddy conditions at the last round. Riders preparing themselves for any and everything here in the fall time, and of course the southern tier of New York, you never know what to expect. You can see a little more moisture out here. Some rain showers have fallen, but not a whole lot to dampen the spirits, but it certainly has kept the dust down as far as the conditions out in the open spots of these woods. So kind of a neat little element we got going on here in New York right now with the dry woods. The rocks starting to show and protrude. We're starting to see some more roots out there as well. All that stuff being exposed, as this is the first time this course has ever been raced. Virgin terrain, if you will. Already the roots are being exposed. That's going to cause the track to get a bit slicker and a little bit rougher, and that could open up some new and better lines and passing opportunities for these riders. The top three's now starting to break away a little bit. Fowler, Richardson, and McClure as we check in about halfway through the lap now, lap number 2. And the breakaway is looking like it may be about to happen for Walker Fowler, at least in this little woods section now. Still looks like that Richard can still catch glimpses of that number 1 machine, but it's getting a little tougher to do. McClure still back in that number 3 spot. He's seen some real estate open up between himself and second place position. A little further down the trail now. Walker Fowler still in control of this one, and look, the gap a little bit larger. So now Walker's starting to stretch his legs as the number 5. No, take that back. That gap is opened up now. Back to McClure, so it looks like Richardson must have had an issue. McClure now in the number 2 spot, but the gap is open. He cannot see Walker Fowler or what kind of pace he's got going on, so that could be good news for the number 2 of McClure, as he might just ride blindly and try to catch up to Fowler, or it might knock the wind out of his sails. Time will tell that story for sure. Looking back a little further, it looks like Feehan has moved up into the number 3 position. That'll move McGill now into 4th. And back in the number 5 position is the number 5 of Cole Richardson. So Richardson dropping not only some time, but also several positions now. So he's got a lot to make up for here. Still plenty of time to make that happen as Walker Fowler making his way up this little uphill section now, and still a little bit of breathing room. So he must be feeling the opportunity to stretch his legs. He cannot rest on his morals at this point, especially with Sneaky Snake back there. That's one thing you could say about Sneaky Snake. He can make up time on the racetrack in any given condition at any given opportunity, and this opportunity of a free and clear racetrack, perfect conditions, may just afford him that possibility of reeling in the number 1 machine. You see both have got a great pace going. The track in perfect condition. We are starting to see some roots that are starting to be exposed, a few rocks, but it's not getting deep. It's not getting as rough and rugged as what it could. And it's going to be easy reclamation for the track crew whenever they come in to fix the trails for this one. There's no doubt about that. Beautiful terrain. Great place here in southern New York, and still that number 2 machine of Jared McClure trying to keep the pace of the number 1 machine. About 15 or so seconds that separate the first and second place positions, maybe a little bit broader, but as we move further through the lap, it looks like things may be starting to tighten up now as Walker Fowler checks through, not nearly as far ahead that time around. And we got a new 3rd place ride, it looks like, as Feehan drops off to 4th place, and Adam McGill up to the number 3 position, but there is still Cole Richardson. There's a 3-way battle now going on for that final podium position. And Walker Fowler out front, Now let's see what this gap is starting to look like. Getting reports that maybe McClure starting to close that gap up from that 15-plus second gap down to a closer to the 10-second frame. Still in that 15-second neighborhood, but I believe that what we're seeing, the pace that has been picked up by the number 2 of McClure, we might be seeing that gap start to shrink a little bit. So keep an eye on that. I know that Walker Fowler's going to be watching back behind his shoulders as well, getting those pit boards out there on the course to see who's coming and how fast they are making up time. Though Walker by himself has the opportunity to utilize some of those secret Walker Fowler lines. Again, it may be 6 inches off to the left or 6 inches off to the right, but it finds a smoother line somehow or another and is always able to make up time until today. Don't know what's going on out there at the moment. The gap is not opening up nearly as much as what he had hoped, and it looks like McClure is starting to close the gap on the number 1 machine now as this race gets closer and closer to the end. Reports are it is within that, yep, there it is, within that 10-second frame now. And this is the frame of time that Walker Fowler did not want to see happen, because now we're going to see that Jared McClure will start to see glimpses of that number 1. And if that's the case, it could give him the incentive that he needs to ride a little bit faster and a little bit harder to catch up to Walker Fowler and challenge for the win. Will he be able to do it? Stick around to find out who's going to take the win here at the Black Sky.
GNCC on the NBC Sports Network is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics. Specialized turbo e-bikes. It's you, only faster. And by Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Get ready.
And welcome back to the Black Sky GNCC presented by Parts Unlimited. It is the AMSOIL GNCC series where, of course, in Harpersville, New York, Walker Fowler continues to lead the number 2 of Jared McClure. Cole Richardson now moving into that number 3 spot as we work our way here late in the race. Mile marker number 6 as these riders all now trying to position themselves for podiums and possible wins as we roll through the closing moments of the Parts Unlimited Black Sky GNCC. Adam McGill still back in that number 4 position. The 4:06 of Devin Feehan, though, seemed to lost pace a little bit, so dropping off that number 5 position a little further up. We're checking back in with Walker Fowler. We're seeing some lap traffic that could be posing a little bit of an issue for the number 1 machine, as the number 2 of McClure is trying to capitalize on that right now. We can see that that gap is well within the 10-second frame, and this is right where the Sneaky Snake needs and wants to be as we roll through this final lap of racing here. And out near our final checkpoint, Walker Fowler just trying to slice his way through these trees. You still see that the conditions in the woods are ultimately perfect here toward the end of the race. A few roots starting to show, but his track is not nearly as rough as what it could be. A nice hard-packed surface here in New York as well, offering these riders a great opportunity and a great racing surface, as well the race fans an opportunity to witness a great and historic battle. It could come down to the wire, but Walker Fowler, it appears, is working his way through this lap traffic, and the last hopes that the number 2 of Jared McClure may have had on closing that gap on Walker Fowler may be starting to subside a little bit. He's got him within sight. He may have just seen him going into that woods. It may not be enough, though, as we are closing in on that finish line. But don't tell Jared McClure that, because he's not letting up on the throttle any whatsoever. You can see how aggressive he is, how hungry he is for that win, but it's going to be too little too late as Walker Fowler makes his way into the final turns here in Harpersville, New York, and sets another page of history as he takes win number 53 here at the Parts Unlimited Black Sky GNCC. And these final few turns right here are writing the final page of history on this day of racing as the checker flag waves in Ricky Towery's hand, and it is a done deal. Walker Fowler has done it, sealed the deal on win number 53, one step closer to the all-time wins record of Chris Board, set at 75. Let's head on down to the winner's circle and talk with our champ.
Yeah, you know, I was really hoping to get a nice big lead built up, and I kind of did on the second lap there, but that was the end of that. Jared McClure put a couple hot laps in. There was a bunch of lines I was missing in the track. It got shorter and shorter and shorter. I know he got me down below 10 seconds, and it pretty well stayed there. There were certain times that I was only a corner ahead, and then he would fall back just enough where I could, get some lappers between us. And luckily that last lap, I think he said he stuffed it into a corner and either had to get off the bike or had to, it's wasted about 10 seconds, and I was out of gas. We fueled, and this is the third time this year I've either run out or almost run out, and it ain't working. So I don't know what we're doing wrong, but we got lucky on that one. I barely made it up this hill, and luckily it was mostly downhill, and I was looking back because it was going to be the X Factor a couple years ago when I was running out. It was almost the same thing. It quit at the top of that hill over there, and I don't know how it made it in, but we had everyone was out here ready to push if they needed to. So got lucky, but we'll take it.
Well, a win's a win, and that's number 53 for Walker Fowler as Jared McClure comes in the number 2 spot. Cole Richardson holding on to the podium in third, Bryson Neal in fourth, and Adam McGill rounded out your top 5. Let's head down and talk to McClure.
Yeah, this year's been a tough one for sure. 2 podiums there back in the spring, and it's just been a kind of 4th, 5th kind of year for me. So to come fresh off summer break up to New York here and put it on the box. I mean, I had Walker in sight for a good part of the day. I could see him in the fields, so it was kind of hyping me up to go for the win. Just trying to, we both started hitting some lappers. I know they were probably giving him some problems too. Kind of mixed it up a little bit, but just fell a little short. But man, super pumped to get the second. Like I said, it's been a while since I've been on the box talking to you guys, so it feels real good to be up here.
Well, it's real good to have Jared back up, no doubt about it. Good to see this young man consistently running up front and being that consistent thorn in the side as well.
We got off to a great start, and he's running second, started to gap the field with me and Walker, and just came down through a little bend, and I don't know what I did. It came in too hot, blew over the hillside, and I didn't wreck or anything, but I was off the track and all the logs and trees, and I just kind of leaned back, pinned it, got over the log, and then got stuck in a bundle of trees, and had to lift the quad on the grab bar, push it on its side, get it going, and I think I dropped the 6th and was about, I'd say 15 seconds behind, 5th, 4th, and so forth. And, we tried to make up as much time as we could, and the bike felt a little funny, and went to realize that the bead on the tire broke. So we rode 3 laps with pretty much on the rim, I'd say. But, the tire balls did its job. The rims held the tire together, and, we put in some of the fastest laps today, and definitely the fastest last lap. I feel like I could ride longer, but, just the cards didn't play right today.
Well, I tell you, if the cards ever do play right for that young rider, he is going to be a threat for the championship for that guy right there, Walker Fowler. As we take a look at the AMSOIL recap, as we see Cole Richardson did get out to a second-place start and was playing shadow for Walker Fowler yet again. Jared McClure holding steady in the early part of the race in that number 3 position, but as the race wore on, the mistake by Richardson opened the door for McClure to move up. Also a few other riders. Looks like that our 3rd place ride of Richardson actually dropped back to 5th at one point and was able to work his way back up into that 3rd place position. Bryson Neal, another rider, finishing strong top 5 today. He actually started out in about an 8th place position there on lap number 1 to finish in the 4th place position. And Adam McGill had a good steady run today, running a solid top 5 all day, rounding out that top 5. But no one could stop the forces at play here for Walker Fowler. Even Jared McClure and that hard push that the Sneaky Snake was putting in was just not enough to bridge the gap and, of course, seal a deal and put that pressure on the number 1 of Walker Fowler. So he does it. He takes the win. It's number 53 again, as we said, a step closer to that 75 wins of Chris Borch. I tell you, the rest of the season is going to be exciting as well. The future seasons to see whether or not Walker can match that win rate. It's pretty impressive. Stick around to find out more. We'll have more coming up on NBC Sports. For all of us here in Black Sky, I'm Rodney Tomlin. Have a great day, everybody.